The line to us now is Lawson Naidoo. He is from the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution. Lawson, it is, of course, a victory in some ways for some of these applicants in this case, but as Angela was just telling us, also a sad day when the courts have to step in this way.
Indeed, and once again, the president has been found to have violated his constitutional responsibilities by a court of law in South Africa, and I think it is a sad day for our democracy. But on the other hand, it's a vindication of the of our constitutional democracy. It's a vindication of the rule of law, that everyone will be held subject to the law and will be held to account under the law. And I think we are seeing the courts playing a very critical role in some of these legal disputes that are before the courts at the moment.
Yeah, some strong statements made in this judgment by the North Gauteng High Court, among them that the president's conduct amounts to attempts to stymie the fulfillment of the constitutional duties of the public protector.
Indeed, I mean, that was the one phrase that stood out for me. I haven't had a chance to study the judgment in detail, obviously, but that would, that raises the question as to whether that constitutes a serious violation of the Constitution, which would trigger the impeachment proceedings in Section 89 of the Constitution. So that's something that will have to be looked at very carefully.
Lawson, how do you see this sort of unfolding in the next few hours in terms of a response from the presidency?
Well, we know from the judgment in the same court last Friday that the president reacted within hours to announce his intention to appeal that judgment. So we'll have to wait and see what the president does in regard to this case. Obviously, the prospect of an appeal is a double-edged sword for the president, because if he loses the appeal, the cost that he will have to bear personally will only increase. So he will have to consider those factors very carefully, consider the legal basis on which this judgment is premised before taking any decision, because it will have significant impact for him personally.
Yeah, and of course, just around 13 minutes or so to go, 11:30, that's when the second part of the state capture issue will be unpacked in the North Gauteng High Court. The second decision by the court around whether the president retains control of an inquiry into state capture. Indeed,
and I think CASAC is a respondent in that case, so we're eagerly awaiting the outcome of that. I think on the basis of the judgment of the Gauteng High Court last week, where the president's conflict of interest in relation to the appointment of the head of the NPA was determined, I think similar issues arise in this case. And as the court considered in its judgment last week, they will seek to find what it would be a just and equitable remedy in the circumstances. And we're certainly of the view that the remedy proposed by the public protector, that the Chief Justice select the person to head the Judicial Commission of Inquiry and that the President make the formal appointment, is a just and equitable remedy in the circumstances. So we certainly hope that the court will rule in that manner today.
Yeah, we'll be keeping a close eye on that as well. Thanks very much for your time. Lawson Naidoo is, of course, from the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution.